The message arrived in the middle of the night. It wasn't a text, not an email. It was a beam of soft blue light that shimmered through the sky, painting the dark clouds with strange, beautiful symbols. Every scanner on Earth lit up, and every nation fell silent. But the message wasn't for humanity. It was for one man. Ethan Cole, a quiet mechanic who lived alone near the old spaceport ruins on the outskirts of New Seattle. He woke up when the blue light hit his window. The air in his small apartment suddenly smelled like metal and ozone, like the moments after a lightning strike. A voice, calm and impossibly beautiful, spoke directly into his mind. Human Ethan Cole, the Royal House of Navarra requests your presence. Your acceptance of our proposal will ensure peace between our worlds. Ethan blinked, his heart hammering against his ribs. He sat up, trying to make sense of the words echoing in his skull. Proposal? What kind of proposal? Before he could even finish the thought, the air in front of him shimmered, like heat rising off asphalt on a summer day. And then, a figure stepped out of the light. She wasn't human. Her skin glowed with a faint silvery sheen, and her eyes were a deep violet, like the endless expanse of space itself. A thin metallic veil covered her face, and long strands of luminous hair floated around her as if the very air obeyed her will. I am Lyra, envoy of the Nivaran Empire, she said, her voice the same one he'd heard in his mind. I come with an offer, one that could save your people from war. Ethan's blood ran cold. Nivara. He knew that name. Everyone knew that name. The alien empire that had destroyed entire human colonies for less than a diplomatic insult, and now their envoy was standing in his bedroom. Why me? He managed to ask, his voice raspy. I'm nobody, just a mechanic. Her expression, veiled as it was, didn't change. Because my princess chose you. The words hung in the air like a final, chilling note. Ethan stared at her, caught between the terrifying possibility that this was real and the desperate hope that it was just a dream. Hours later, the dream theory was long gone. He was sitting inside a crystal ship, so smooth and silent it felt like a ghost gliding through the upper atmosphere. Below him, the Earth, his home, was already shrinking, a blue and white marble in an ocean of black. Lyra stood beside him, her silver skin reflecting the stars outside the viewport. He couldn't stand the silence anymore. So, who exactly is this princess? He asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Lyra hesitated, a flicker of something he couldn't name crossing her features. Her name is Princess Aris Navarra. She is kind, innocent, and she is blind. Ethan frowned. Blind? Yes, since birth. She sees the world through sound and energy. She wanted to marry a human, to end the conflict between our species. A gesture of unity. Lyra paused, her gaze distant. But when the Royal Council showed her holographic images of humanity, she said all humans looked beautiful to her. The nobles. They mocked her. They said if she was so fond of humans, she should marry one so ugly that even her blindness couldn't save her from the insult. Ethan's stomach dropped. The puzzle pieces clicked into a horrifying picture. So they're sending me? Lyra finally looked down, her luminous hair falling like a curtain. They scanned millions of humans. You were chosen. His heart sank. He wasn't a movie star. He knew that. He was a man who had spent his life with grease under his fingernails and loneliness as his closest companion. Years of hard work, a few scars, and a life lived in the shadows had left their mark on his face. So this is just a joke to them, he muttered, the bitterness sharp on his tongue. Lyra's voice softened unexpectedly. To them, yes, but not to her. For the first time, Ethan saw a raw sadness in the alien envoy's eyes. She truly believes humans are beautiful on the inside, Lyra said quietly. She thinks love can make peace real. Just then, the ship entered a wormhole. The stars outside stretched into impossible streaks of light, and the world twisted into a kaleidoscope of color and energy. Ethan gripped the arms of his seat, his knuckles white. As the universe warped around them, A question burned its way through his fear. "Why did you accept this mission?" he asked suddenly. "To deliver this insult?" Lyra turned her head, looking out at the swirling vortex. "Because I am her sister." Ethan froze. The air left his lungs. The silence between them was now heavier than a dying star. You're the one who asked me to marry your blind sister?" he whispered, the words barely audible over the hum of the ship. Lyra nodded, her form rigid. "Because if she marries you, the Empire will finally leave Earth in peace. The treaty will be signed." Ethan stared at her glowing silver hands, clenched at her sides. "And what if I say no?" Lyra's voice was suddenly as cold as the void of space. "Then Earth burns." The ship shuddered violently as it exited the wormhole. And there, before them, stretched the most breathtaking and terrifying sight Ethan had ever witnessed. It was a city not on a planet but floating in the dark of space, a web of glowing silver spires and rivers of pure light connecting massive, crystalline structures. This was the homeworld of the Niveron Empire. Ethan looked from the awe-inspiring city back to Lyra. "You could have sent anyone," he said, his voice flat. "Some actor, some model, anyone to save face." "I didn't want just anyone," she replied, her tone unreadable. "You're different." "Different how?" he pressed. She didn't answer. The ship began its descent into the capital's atmosphere, and flashes of what looked like lightning flickered through the silver mists below. Far below, he could almost feel them, millions of alien eyes turning upward, waiting for the human who was the punchline to a cruel royal joke. Ethan didn't know what waited for him down there, mockery, an uneasy peace, or something far darker. But as the ship descended, one thought burned in his mind, clear and hot as a welder's torch. "If this is a joke, I'll make sure they choke on their laughter." The ship disappeared into the silver clouds, and the royal city swallowed the light. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss what happens next. See you in the next video.